And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big Sean McCarthy.
Well, welcome to the Weighing In podcast. Yes, we just had a UFC fight night from the Apex. We also had the PFL with their first round of their tournament from Orlando, Florida. All kinds of things to talk about. Things are getting warm where I'm at. They're getting cold where Josh is at, which means they're going to be getting cold where I'm at soon.
Yeah, it's coming your way, buddy.
That sucks.
Yep, shit fucking goes uphill sometimes.
Dude, you need to keep your own shit in your area. Dude.
No, it goes uphill, brother. It doesn't just trickle down anymore. It's moving all around.
Running up.
You and I were talking off camera about dogs and fireworks and thunderstorms and shit like that. So I have a black lab. He's 14. He'll be 14 next month. And he's getting a little bit older. He's still a very active dog. We just had him at your farm last week. So, 2 weeks ago, he's an amazing dog. He doesn't handle fireworks very well. Not many dogs do.
A lot of dogs don't.
They don't. It's the thunder. He doesn't handle the fireworks really at all, like very well at all. The thunder, he just kind of likes to hide. Like he'll go into my closet, in my walk-in closet, and he'll like bury himself in the corner in the clothes, and he'll just kind of hang in there and just kind of hunker down and hopefully I think he puts his ears close to the clothes.
You got to figure, think about it. If you're the dog and all of a sudden there's this loud,
Like loud, John.
Oh yeah, I know. Right. You got to be like, what the hell's that? Right. It's like no one ever explains it to you.
That's true.
So,
that's true. No matter how much you talk to them, you don't really know if they're comprehending, which,
That's
you understand. They understand sit, stay, all those things, but like trying to explain them about fireworks and thunderstorms is a little bit different.
Totally different.
I mean, he's such a good dog, but yeah, I feel so bad for him. But we were talking, I said, like you said, you drug your dog sometimes during fireworks on the 4th.
Look, every 4th I put on a big 4th of July for everyone. And so I put on a ton of fireworks. So we got, an hour-long show and it's going. I mean, there's not a whole lot of break in between them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, if I don't, then I have my wife is chasing dogs because Bubba's big and he'll just start chasing things.
Yeah.
He just starts going because he gets all freaked out by him. The little one just does what Bear does, has a heart attack, and then lies in the corner and does the dying cockroach. And you think, so I figured out, you know what? If you just give the dog a little something, and you know what? They just go to sleep and they're like, hey, this is great stuff, man. And they wake up and they have no idea. It was all perfect.
Yeah, so because my dog is older, we started giving him these CBD treats, like for his joints, inflammation. And, it kind of mellows him out a little bit too. He's not a hyper dog anymore, like he used to be when he was younger. He's still got a lot of energy though. But what's funny is my buddy, a good friend of mine who I own Knox gear and Knox clothing and all that stuff with, he also has a CBD company on the side. So he sends me CBD dog treats.
Yeah.
And one time we were driving from we were driving from Texas back to California. And my daughter, I was driving, my wife was asleep, my son was asleep. And all of a sudden I look back and the whole fucking case is empty of CBD treats. And my fucking daughter thought she was fucking being kind. It gave the whole fucking thing to my dog. I was concerned that like he would get the runs or whatever it was. No, he just was fucking high as fuck. And he didn't move for like 5 or 6 hours.
He did you a favor.
And that's kind of what got me on the whole thing of like, hey, during the 4th of July, whatever it is, give him some CBD treats.
Yep.
And it's not like we give him at least one a day, and like kind of to get him through one every other day. It's good for his body. It's good for him right now at the age of that. Yeah. But it was so funny to take a look back, and I've got a picture of it. She's kind of sitting watching TV because there's TVs in the back in the old Wagoneer, and he's got his head rested on the armrest of her back seat, but it's like kind of drooped over into her lap, and his tongue is slightly out. It's just one of those moments where you capture it. I was like, Naya, what did you do? I saw my daughter, what did you do? And she's like, what? I gave him treats. He was hungry. And she's like, at the time she was like 4 years old. I'm like, oh geez, what are we doing?
Hey.
It was hilarious, John. It was
Dude,
hilarious.
At one time I had a friend who had this really nice German Shepherd, and we decided, being the asshole friends, hey, we're drinking beer. You want us to drink beer? We're drinking whiskey. Yeah. Dog's drinking it up, right?
Oh yeah.
Dog got hammered, and then he's pissed at us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't blame him. It's his dog. He's pissed at us for that. The best part is he had this dog door for it, and the dog gets halfway out, right? Halfway out. So the front half is out, the rear end's still in the house. He just starts.
No.
He's screaming at us. He goes, "You're goddamn picking that up. You're picking that up." We're all laughing at his dog.
Shit all over the place. Do you have the runs?
Oh, dude, he pissed and shit everywhere. I was like, well, I think I'm out. But I thought it was funny at the time. Now I go, we were shitheads.
Yeah. It's funny. It's on a similar story with the runs and the dog. Well, my dog loved to play fetch when he was younger. We'd go to the beach and we'd throw the tennis ball like a little bit into the water. He'd run out and grab it, come back, that kind of thing. But when the dog drinks too much salt water,
oh, it's not good.
It's not good, man. And he's the dog. He's the type of dog. He'll run until like he's dragging his back legs. That's how much he'll run. Just doesn't want to stop. Like,
well, he's got to throw up.
Yeah. No. He was running, and every time he was running, it was just shooting out of his ass. It was like projectile, John. It was so. I was like, wait, is it just like you just taking water off you as you come out? Oh no, that's fucking. He's got the runs. But didn't phase him at all. He just kept chasing the ball. And as he's running, it's just coming out. It's like, this is disgusting.
When you came here, we had the 3 dogs because that's what we did have a 4th dog, and he ended up dying. But his name was Max, and he was like a mix of a pit and a Malinois. But the dog could run. I mean, Josh, he would run around the entire farm. He would chase anytime you're in a side-by-side, he would chase it. And he would have to beat it. He would have to run in front of it, and he would kind of, do the zigzag. And I clocked the dog at 36 miles an hour one time, and I would take him on these long runs around every pasture that I had.
Is this when you're going to tell me he died because you ran him over?
No.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Please don't tell me that.
I did not run him over. But so the dog goes in. At first he would just, when I first started doing this, he would be running, and all of a sudden he would just stop, and boom, it would just, he'd blow it out, right, and take off running again. Right?
Oh shit, literally shit.
Oh yeah, he was, and then finally it got to the point he just started shitting while he's running full speed, and I go, "How are you doing?"
It's like trying to talk. It's so
what the
weird.
dog would do.
Trying to take a piss when you're moving. Like I have a hard time taking a piss in an airplane, man, because of the movement. Yeah. It takes me forever. No matter how bad I got to piss, it takes me forever to take a piss.
Dogs will figure out they can shit anywhere at any time, and they will.
Yeah, that's true. No, my dog's
even running full speed.
My dog, if I take him out in the backyard or whatever to throw the ball, and I throw the ball for him, he's got to run after the ball like 4 or 5 times, and then he takes a shit and he comes back. It's almost like it's kind of stirred it up a little bit and anyways, let's get into some fights.
Oh no, let's talk about dog shitting. This is what we do.
This episode is brought to you by BetUSTV.com. BetUSTV.com. Visit their website, man. Check them out. You guys, great content on there. So go check it out at BetUSTV.com. Let's go right into the main event, man. Lerone Murphy versus Josh Emmett.
We talked about this fight, and it really played out very similar to what we talked about. The power and all the wrestling and everything was on Josh Emmett's side, but speed was going to be on Lerone Murphy's. And if Lerone Murphy could use that speed to keep Emmett on the outside, was Emmett going to be fast enough to actually put that power in place on target and make it effective? And I thought he won the first round, and the second round was close. I thought Lerone Murphy won it, so I thought it was even going into that. I thought he won the third, and I gave Emmett the fourth. I thought Emmett won the fourth, and then he was doing well in the fifth. Murphy hurt him with a shot, kind of took the round away from him, And the judges kind of saw it the same way. One had it 49-46. Okay. But it was a 48-47 fight. I thought Lerone Murphy used, people are not going to be happy with his performance. And you look and you go, no, it was a really good performance by Lerone Murphy against a guy like Josh Emmett. He did a great job of getting himself up when he was taken down, and eventually started stopping those takedowns. He started pulling the arms up past his hips and doing it because Josh was getting his hands locked. Lerone Murphy was pulling the hands past it. And then Lerone Murphy was using the oblique kick beautifully against the leg. That caused Josh nothing but problems. He landed incredibly hard body kicks multiple times in that fight, and he just picked him apart. He didn't try to put him out. I'm just going to keep you at a point where you're guessing, and you are now starting to reach, and you're having problems getting to me. If you really look at it, go back and watch the fight, watch the foot play of Lerone Murphy compared to Josh Emmett. Lerone Murphy switches to southpaw a lot, and every time he did, he's always stepping outside of, Josh Emmett's foot, which is making it to where Josh Emmett can't land the punches, and he feels out of place. And so he's, resetting, and all these little things add up. And there was a frustration factor, I think, there for Josh, at a point in the fight where it was like, would you frickin' stand still so I can frickin' hit you? That's not fighting. That's stupid fighting. And, Lerone Murphy's undefeated for a reason. He's a smart, intelligent fighter, and his trainers got him a good game plan. He followed that game plan, and he got the win, and he deserved it.
If you're Josh Emmett, when you go back and watch the fight tomorrow, what are you saying? What are the solutions, John? Because let's be honest, he's been through this exact same thing when he fought Michael Johnson, except he landed the shot.
Yeah.
And then in this, did Lerone Murphy go through and take a look at how Michael was winning that fight? Michael was running away with that fight.
Yeah.
He just ended up getting clipped at the end.
Oh, he got clipped.
So when you look at this, what were the takeaways? Did Lerone go back and watch the Michael Johnson fight? That's one. And two, what does Josh Emmett look at tomorrow when he watches this fight back going, man, I could have done this. I could have done that. Like, what are the things that you saw?
It's, it's really tough. But if, I thought they had a good game plan with Josh and that they wanted him to wrestle. But when he was wrestling, he wasn't doing any damage. Even when he would get the fight to the ground. You got to look and figure out, if I watch tape of Lerone Murphy, I know that he's good at using the fence to get back up. Okay, so I know he uses that. I know he's good with it. I don't care. I'm a good enough wrestler that I can push him back and do the same thing multiple times. So when I get him to the ground, I need to make him pay. I've got to do damage. I got to make it to where he now worries about me being in that same position again and doing the same thing, because he can't take that same damage. And the one thing, there's sometimes you have to put it in your mind, you know what? I'm either going to win this fight by knockout or I'm going to lose this fight by knockout, but I'm not going to let him just run around. And I thought Josh kind of in some way started to get that, and then he lost it. He just let it go. I thought, the fourth round, I gave him the round, and it was partly because he started to, not give, credit or not really respect the power of Lerone Murphy. And I think that's what he had to do. But he went right back to, okay, I'm doing the same thing. And he's caught in that wheel. And I think if he looks back at that, the moments where he was not respecting Lerone Murphy's power and just walking towards him and, just marching him down, he was doing well. The moments that he was allowing Lerone Murphy to keep that distance and do things, those were the times that he ended up, having problems in the fight.
Yeah. I mean, I look at a couple things. He's going to watch tomorrow and go, I never cut the cage off. There was moments actually where he actually circled and put his back to the fence.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, just baffled.
That's what I'm talking about, the footwork. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, it was, Lerone Murphy's footwork was fantastic.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But on top of it, Josh Emmett's footwork was not fantastic. And there was moments where he could have just circled a little bit more to the right and put Laron's back to the fence, but instead he actually circled and put his own back to the fence. I'm like, what are you doing? And so just moments like lapses in moments like that, I think is what took away the fight for him. Like he had, and every time that he allowed himself to go and Laron covered up, he only threw 2s and 3s, waiting for Laron to counter. And that signifies to me that you don't believe anymore that you're the faster fighter or that you can take the shot anymore.
No doubt about that. But you notice that when he did wait, because he was trying to counter him, and Laron would come in, boom, boom, and Josh would be ready to throw the counter. And then it was so late getting there. Laron was already way outside of it.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about that, John. I'm talking about when he had him backed up and he landed 2 or 3 shots against the fence.
Against the fence?
There was like that hesitation. He stopped to see if Laron was going to react. No, what are you doing? Don't wait for him to react. Like give that slight hesitation to see if something comes out. Nothing comes out. Keep throwing. Yeah. He just threw 3, and then he either shot for the takedown, which I thought was like, why are you shooting right now? You actually have him back to the fence, and you're able to land some hard shots. Let's go ahead and dig the body. Let's throw a knee, do something along those lines, mix it up a little bit. It wasn't there. Like I go back to when I was getting older, and I go back and watching Frankie Edgar when he was fighting. When you get older towards the end, you're waiting to get hit. You throw your combination and say, okay, I'm waiting. I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You're seeing it right now with Bobby Green.
Yeah.
You know, and you see it with the older fighters. They throw, and there's that sense of hesitation towards the end where they're like almost waiting to get hit because they know they're not the faster fighter anymore. We don't see it coming anymore. We know we can't absorb those shots as well as we used to anymore. And so I'm seeing that a little bit in Josh Emmett. I didn't think I would see it because when someone has that much power, you're like, look, all you got to do is back you up. And then you don't have as much power going backwards. And you saw that Laron didn't have as much power going backwards, and he didn't have as much output either when he's being put on his back foot. But then Josh didn't have any more output either going forward. I'm like, that's when you need to take over the fight. Yeah. And even when Danny Castillo was in the corner going, hey, you need to win this fight.
You need to go.
Yeah. You need to go. This round is like this is it. You don't got to get him out of here. And that still didn't spur up anything. That was like the oblique kick and the feints and all that. It just had an effect of, like you said, frustration. But it wasn't just the frustration. It was like he was waiting for the perfect shot, and it never happened. We see that
never does.
You know, we see
that
when you
wait for it. It never happens when you're waiting for that.
Well,
that
that's the problem. It's already happened for him one time, John. So he's thinking lightning's going to strike twice, and it didn't strike twice tonight. You know, the Michael Johnson thing gives you that imagination that it can happen again. And just it's not there, especially as you get older.
His last fight was the Bryce Mitchell, and it was a huge knockout.
Yeah, but
that was a huge knockout. But those things happen when you just throw your hands.
Yeah. Look, if I had power like him, John, I would have been trigger happy.
Oh yeah.
My career would have been a lot shorter because I either fucking would have knocked someone out or got knocked the fuck out. It would have been a lot. I wouldn't have had a 20-year career. I'll tell you that. Shit, this guy, with that type of power at 145 pounds. But I want to go back. The Dan Ige fight with Lerone Murphy. The reason why Dan had success is, man, he throws punches and bunches.
Yeah.
It's
he's a volume striker.
6,
He's got good power, but he's a volume striker.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that the reason why he had success is when he got Lerone to move backwards, he was able to fight him in a phone booth. Josh got him going backwards, and he stopped after 3 punches. Had he kept going at punches 5, 6, whatever, 7, and then maybe wrestled or then circle, basically turned a little bit, created an angle and ripped the body, something along those lines, something. Throw a knee up the middle. I don't know. He's going to watch this fight tomorrow. I'll be like, fuck, I had it so close. One little tweak here, one little tweak there. And that's the story of fighting guys in the top 10. It only takes you to be off a percentage point, or less than a percentage point, and that's how close they are in matchups. Lerone looked good. The footwork was nice. I love the switching of the stance, mixing up the body kicks with the head kicks. That was beautiful on that side. And then also too, when he switched to that southpaw stance, throwing that oblique kick with that front right leg. I mean, he had moments, but Josh Emmett and every other fighter now is going to start taking notes. When he switches stance, these are the 3 things he does. you know, and this is what his combinations are from that position. And then when he goes back, this is what he does. So Lerrone's going to have to change it up because those guys in the top 5, now they're perking up to seeing you. You're undefeated, 17 now, or 16-0-1 or 17-0-1.
Yeah.
Like, something's going to change. Like, these guys are going to start watching you a little bit more carefully now. And just me being old, fat, and retired, I'm already like, okay, these are the 3 things he does when he switches to southpaw. Okay, that's how this all gets figured out. When the blueprint gets written on you is when fighters start saying, you know what, I'll take that fight. You know, I think Josh Emmett saw that Dan Ige had success in some areas, couldn't get it done. Josh thought, okay, well, I got a little bit more power than Dan Ige. Okay, I'm a little bit better wrestler than Dan Ige. Maybe I'll get it done. He just didn't follow Dan Ige's game plan, like more punches than just 3, 2, you know, those kind of things. And Dan Ige just threw more. It was more active. So I think that was the downfall of this fight. Lerone, though, he's tough, man. I got to give him credit, though. John, I didn't think that he would have I wouldn't say endurance. I just thought that Josh Emmett's pressure would put him in a very uncomfortable position in rounds 4 and 5. And Lerone was in fantastic shape. He was tough all the way through. I think Josh made it a little bit easier for him because he didn't have more combinations. He didn't have more output. And so that gave Lerone chances to recover, chances to circle, stay away. Like he fought a very smart fight. He didn't throw too much. He just did enough to make sure that he was landing more of the shots. But in the problem that you have with that with someone like Lerone or with somebody like that you fight later on, it only, like you said, Josh allowed Lerone to land the hardest shot in round 5, which potentially could have won him the round had he not landed that shot. Like Josh could have won that round had Lerone not landed that big shot, because that was the biggest shot pretty much of the fight. There was one other shot, I think, in the 5th. It was one other shot somewhere in the fight that Lerone landed also. That was a big shot. And it was this close going the other direction had Josh done 1 or 2 other things. But Lerone, for being a younger, a very wise fighter, good fight IQ, didn't leave himself out of position very often, didn't take a lot of chances. But this was his step into that next echelon of fighters. And so I think he was playing a little bit safe, which was very smart on his part, because some of the other guys, they don't have the power that Josh Emmett has. You understand what I'm saying?
No, most of them don't.
But I'd like to see maybe like a Lerone versus Yair Rodriguez fight.
Be an interesting fight. It really would.
You know?
I think Lerone's in that position where he's got some things to fix.
Mm-hmm.
He's talented, and he's got, he's a great athlete. He's got speed on his side, but when you're fighting the top guys, many of the, I'm just going to put in, for instance, think of Diego Lopez, who now is fighting for the featherweight title against Volkanovski. Think of his style and how he would have dealt with Murphy and all the movement. He's gonna walk through him. He's gonna start just throwing huge shots, and when he gets him against the cage, he's gonna just start throwing heavy leather his way and make him, have to get out. You want to get out? Come out the way that I'm going to force you, because that's where my power's at. And I'm going to make you eat one as you're getting out. Okay, we'll see what it does to you, and then I'm just going to march you down again. And it's a constant. It's going to be that constant pressure. You're not going to have that time to get your couple bounces in and get your sucking some air, and now I'm back, I'm good. It's not going to happen. And so he's going to end up having to figure out how he deals with that kind of pressure fighter, because it's going to happen, and it's going to be happening soon. You take a look at the UFC's, rankings in the 145s and where he'll be. I'll tell you what, he's going to be, Josh was at 7, right? Wasn't he 7 or 8?
Yeah, it was 8.
8. Okay. And you take a look, Lerone was at 10. So we'll say he moves up just 1. All those people there, the Arnold Allens that are there, Yair Rodriguez, Evolov, and Diego Lopez, they're all going to be guys that are going to, they're not going to back down. They're going to be walking towards him.
This whole 145-pound division, though, it's going to get shaken up. Brian Ortega going up to 55. But Max Holloway going to 55. Ilya going to 55. I mean, you're losing 3 of your top guys right there.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are gone. And so you've got Arnold Allen, you've got Yair, you got Evolov, and you've got Diego, and Volkanovski. and we're going to see how it all shakes out. But I mean, there's room for some growth in this 145-pound division. So like the addition, of Patricio, that's one, and I'm hoping the addition of Pico here shortly, that's two. I mean, there's guys that I think I keep saying this. If the PFL doesn't get their shit together, there's going to be a lot of one or two guys for every weight class that they could insert into these divisions and really kind of shake up what's going on. Kind of get, I mean, I don't want to call them old heads, but like the old school fighters that are just not willing to let go. But there's a guy who has had a lot of experience over in Bellator, over in PFL, making their run into the UFC now and feeling motivated. It's going to shake up those divisions a little bit. It's going to make them fun. And so, I like it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what Patricio can do. I mean, he's 38 years old, so there's not a lot of time. And if you're looking at this division, it's the one fighter out of all of them that I was like, man, this is the guy that's probably the worst matchup for him is Yair. But because you look at the height of Yair, but look, Patricio's the guy, says doesn't care. I'll fight whoever, whenever. That's the way he's always been. So I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of mix up going to happen in that division. But if I look at Lerone, I say, if I'm looking ahead, I look at Lerone Murphy. I look at him fighting someone like an Arnold Allen or Yair, possibly somewhere in there. One of those two guys. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the Evolov fight, but I mean, the UFC doesn't like him, and I think they like Lerone. They're not trying to give him somebody that maybe would beat him.
But it would be interesting when you got two guys that are undefeated.
That is true. So. Let's go ahead and jump right into the co-main event.
Man, I'll tell you, we talked about how good Pat Sabatini is on the ground, his grappling ability, and that he had to get this fight to the ground. That was the real thing. On the feet, Joe Anderson Brito had a true advantage. He's just the better striker. He's got more power. On the ground, he's very good, but Sabatini is kind of, Sean Brady-like, special on the ground, really has great control. I mean, Josh, let's be honest. You couldn't ask for a better performance from Pat Sabatini against a guy as good as Joe Anderson Brito than this fight. He had him on his butt and being pressured or being hit for 13 and a half minutes of a 15-minute fight. What it was Brito let the emotions get the better of him after he lost a takedown in the first round. Then after that, he knew he was fighting from behind. Instead of being calculated and saying, hey, let me just aim for the chest, he started gunslinging, and then that just made the takedowns even easier. It also was, the first round was demoralizing to him. It was demoralizing, the fact that he felt like, I can get up from anybody. If someone takes me down, I have the ability to get back up. And he did everything he could to get back to his feet, and it did not work. He got stuffed. He got stymied. Pat was 2 steps ahead of him everywhere. The one thing that he did really well is he kept Pat from passing guard when he was looking for the Von Flue at times and things like that. But I'll tell you what, Pat Sabatini put on a performance in that fight. It was just remarkable how well he just handled. And when I say it, this is what you're looking for in MMA if you're talking about grappling, because Pat Sabatini he's not just holding, he is looking to do damage to him. Every time you see him get a position, he's either trying to create that position for the submission to work. Doesn't work. He goes back to pounding on him, goes and tries for another different position, takes that position, does some pounding. Brito, moves it to another one, takes it, moves positioning. He's just constantly creating offensive, effective work that's just systematically breaking Brito down. And when we talk about damage, because Bisping brought up, he thought it was a 10-8 first round, and so did I, especially off of the end with the hammer fist, because you got to have damage. But there's also the damage of what you're doing to that person, and what Pat Sabatini is doing in that round, as far as everything combined, all the effectiveness of the grappling and the strikes that he's landing, and it having an effect of diminishing Joe Anderson Brito's energy, diminishing his spirit, and his absolute confidence is now diminished, knowing I can't get away from this guy if he gets me down. So that nothing I did that I know works against everyone worked against him. And so now I can't be in a position where he takes me down. So now I have to gunsling and I go for the big knockouts because I've seen him knocked out before. And that just leads him into the next round where the same thing happens.
Yeah, I think this is a lesson if you're an up and coming fighter, or you're a fighter that's, just coming into the ranks in the UFC. Like, this is one of those learning lessons where you need to make sure that you're not the best guy you train with, or you're making sure you're putting yourself in positions where you're always in a bad position. Like, start with yourself in mount. Start with yourself with your head against the fence and the guy's got three-quarter mount. Something else. Put yourself in the worst positions, especially when you're tired.
Yeah.
Like, people used to give AKA a hard time over, we overtrain, we get hurt. Yeah,
Injuries.
But how often did you see us get tired? I mean, like, sure, there was some occasions, like, Cain Velasquez got tired in Mexico City.
Yeah, that's different.
You understand what I'm saying, though, John? But, like, there's just like, how often did you see any of us get tired?
No,
John Fitch was like the king of the grind.
You guys were always in great shape.
Phenomenal shape, most of us. I can't, like, Mike Kyle was probably the exception. Like,
probably.
He was a casual
I was not.
trainer.
I was not going to bring Mike up.
Oh, he would casually train. He would come in like the last 2 weeks before the fight and be like, "Okay, look, I got to get in here, get my mitt work in." He was the guy, man. I hated holding mitts for, and I hated sparring with, like, doing any work with that guy at all. He sweat so much that it would drip into his face because he had a bald head, and he would breathe heavy. So when he breathed out, when he was breathing out, it would just spit at you. And I was just like, holding mitts for him was the worst.
That was Jeff Blatnick.
Oh,
remember Jeff Blatnick?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Oh my God, man! I started. I would roll and wrestle and grapple with Jeff all the time, and Jeff, he had a saying, and it was the truth, because his saying was, he says, "Look at John." He goes, women glisten, men sweat, horses perspire, and then there's me. And it was the truth. He just it ran off of him.
Yeah.
And if you were trying to teach him something, you had to be underneath him. It's raining. And it's like, dude, I got to get up, man.
No. The two guys that sweat the most I ever met, Cain Velasquez and Mike Kyle. Yeah. Just like Cain, you couldn't. I mean, I think him, the amount he sweat led to some of his injuries because he could never get his footing, and that type of stuff. And it got real slippery out there, tweaking the knees, the ankles, sometimes falling the wrong way, sliding away. Yeah, all that stuff. But yeah, Anyways, Brito just looked like he was confused out there right as soon as he got taken down. It was more frustration. Sabatini had a great game plan. I went with Brito on taking this fight. I thought for sure he was going to be able to keep the distance, sprawl and brawl, and use his speed. But once he lost that first takedown and chasing the guillotine, knowing that it didn't work in the first round, like, you should have just got away from it. Don't run for that. Like, don't be silly, jump the gilly. Like, have you not seen it enough? Guys that have fantastic guillotines and it works for them in the gym. The problem is it's not going to always work for you against your opponent, because they've got guys in their gym that are really good at the guillotine. That's one. Two is their desire to not tap in a fight is a lot more than their desire to tap inside the gym or not tap in the gym. They're like, as soon as it gets too tight and you're hurting my neck, you're tapping.
Yeah, that's it.
And so every fighter is different, but inside that cage, they're going to go to the bitter end. Majority of them will. Yeah. And in this situation, man, Brito was chasing it and it wasn't there. And Sabatini just hunkered down, almost like a John Fitch, or he just kind of like waited it out, let you blow your arms up. Now you're not the same fighter. Yeah. Like, when you see fighters hold on to those submissions a little bit too long, just know that, like, if you're working for a triangle, your legs are going to be a little jello after that for a good minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. If you're jumping on the arm in guillotine or the guillotine and you don't get it, your arms are going to be a little jello for a minute or two, maybe even sometimes for the fight, depending on how much effort you put out. Because as you get tired, they still stay behind. So, Chang-ho Lee versus how do you say his last name? Romious.
Man, I'll tell you what, this is one of those ones you look at. First off, Romious came in way heavy.
Yeah.
He was
139, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 139 point something.
Came in way heavy. Look, he's got a warrior spirit. He was fighting his ass off. But this is the difference between strength and athleticism and someone with technique, because it was clear that Romious has the strength and he's athletic, but technique just kept crushing him. And he would muscle his way through some things and do well, but then the technique was just too much for him, and he would take damage from it. And then he would muscle his way through it, and then the technique would take over again. And this is as clear a statement when you're looking and saying, well, what's important? Is it to be the athlete and everything? It's to be the person. If you're an athlete, that's great, but learn how to be a good fighter. Learn what good technique is, and that way you don't have to always use that strength. And I thought that's what Chang-ho Lee really showed in this. He was a well-trained fighter. He's got a good grappling game. He used it well. I thought Romious went for some things that you looked and you went, what are you going for? Some of his arm attacks, you're looking and going, you don't have that, but he went for it, and that's okay. That's his choice, but it ended up costing him in the end.
Look, when I take a look at the sport in general, I think over the years, who have we seen that have been good athletes? See, like the John Joneses, the Daniel Cormiers, this and that. But who gets thrown into that whole mix of guys that were considered athletes? Like a Nick Diaz, a Jake Shields, GSP. They were not athletes. I bet you if you went out there and told them to throw a football, kick a soccer ball, do all those things, they might be able to do one or two of those things. But I'm sorry, but GSP, like, you look at the way he carries himself, look at the way he walks. He's a great fighter. You want to know why he's a great fighter? Yeah, he's a technician. Yeah. He trained and drilled. I mean, I just saw this thing the other day on Netflix talking about how fighters that they came from a wrestling background. GSP didn't come from a wrestling background.
No.
And I just saw a Netflix episode or whatever. It was like an hour long talking about fighters that came from a wrestling background and how they had success in MMA. And they had GSP on there. I'm like, he didn't start wrestling until right around the time that he had to fight Matt Hughes the second time. And he was wrestling at like Simon Fraser, some of the other colleges, and then getting some wrestling work when he was at John Danaher's, because they have a really good group of guys that are really good wrestlers at Hensel Gracie's place, at John Danaher's place there, down in the basement in the dungeon. But it wasn't until then to think of the level of which he gathered his wrestling abilities in fighting, and he did that in such a short period of time. That's just dedication and technique and drilling until he got it right. I mean, like Daniel Cormier, sure, he's an athlete, he's a chubby athlete, but he's an athlete, but he was. I mean, I bet you the guy can still do a backflip. I bet you he can.
No.
I bet you. I think all 300 pounds of him would probably do it, John. I put $50 on.
I don't even want to see him try,
because you're going to lose $50.
No, I'm afraid he's going to break his neck.
He will not break his neck. That guy can still do it. I mean, I've seen that guy out of shape. He was a heavyweight before. I know 4 years younger. 5 years younger.
He's never been as heavy as he is right now.
He's a big boy right now. Yeah. I don't know, John. When he was a heavyweight,
I'm not. When Daniel Cormier was fighting, he could do backflips. I know that, and he's an athlete. He is, and he's still. But Dan's 40 what now?
I know.
It's gone, dude. I'm just telling you.
He can still do a backflip, though.
I don't think so.
I bet he could. You know what? I'm going to text him and hit him up.
You know what? You text him and say, hey, could you right now, or would you have to get in shape for it?
Oh, that's true. But see, look, this is what, George, this is what John does. He changes the bet. You should ask him, would he have to get in shape? No, the bet was, can he do it? Maybe it'd take him a week to start practicing again and get it back in to get the rhythm. We weren't talking about that, but I bet you he could do it.
No, I'm saying that, if I put Dan Cormier on a platform right now and said, do a backflip, he'd go, fuck you.
I don't know, man. I feel like he would try.
He might try, because that's the kind of person he is, but I'll tell you what.
He's a stud. Anyway.
You lose that stuff, man. There's the explosiveness to make it happen.
Yeah. You know what happens too after you're done fighting, right? You just don't work it at all anymore.
Yeah, and your legs. I used to be able to dunk a basketball really easy. That shit ain't happening. Okay,
but DC's not 70 years old.
Yeah, still doesn't matter.
I just I don't know. That's pretty funny. I think look, but like my point was when you're dealing with someone who is athletic, it doesn't always mean that they're going to be the better fighter. And you got guys like GSP who just I don't look at him. He's not someone that I think maybe he can dunk a basketball. I don't know. But can he play basketball? Probably not. Okay. I mean, like, can he water ski? Can he snow ski? Maybe he can. He's from Canada. He might be able to snow ski. You know what I mean? Like, there's things though where doesn't mean because you're in Canada. I got friends in Canada know how to fucking ice skate. They don't know how to, they never been on a hockey rink before in their life. I'm like, wait, you're from Canada? You know what I mean? So
that's a lonely Canadian because that is the game up there, man.
Yeah, it is. But my point is that just because you're the better athlete, you still have to use the technique.
Yeah.
You've got to still ingrain that technique in you. And it's funny because I learned that from, talking with Hoffa Mendez and Guillermo Mendez, but mainly Hoffa, and just talking about like, they're like, we very rarely grapple live. We grapple with our students live, but like, I don't really get in there and go really hard with like Andre Gavau or, with my brother Guillermo. I don't go like super hard with them. We're just drilling and flowing and working on what feels good. With my students, I go aggressive, but I go attack, right? Flow grappling, but attack. He's like, but with other guys that are at my level or guys that are a little bit above me or below me, whatever it is, like I'm constantly just putting pressure, but we're filling each other out, seeing what works, and a lot of drilling. Him and his brother would just drill, and it shows. I mean, 5-time world champion, in jiu-jitsu. Things like that makes a difference. Being a technician makes a difference.
The one thing that being a technician will do is it does not. The only way that your technique goes away is you get hurt, your brain gets scrambled, or you are exhausted.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, repetition. Brad Tavares versus Gerald Meerschaert.
I thought this was a very competitive fight, and I thought it went kind of the way that I thought it was going to. I thought Gerald was going to be trying to take Brad down. I thought he would have. We talked about it. I said, look, Brad's got very good wrestling defense. It's going to be very difficult for him to take him down. He never really got him down. Got him up against the cage. They gave him the round for that and stuff, but Brad really he dominated the fight. He landed the hard shots. Gerald didn't land a whole lot of good stand-up shots against Brad. It's just one of those, in that kind of fight, Brad has to be cautious the whole time because we've seen Gerald Meerschaert how many times be losing a fight badly, and all of a sudden the guy makes a mistake, and that mistake leads to him being on the ground, and all of a sudden Gerald Meerschaert is standing over a unconscious body, and he's got his win. And so I thought that Brad was smart in that he had a controlled attitude towards the fight. He tried to do damage when he could in the stand-up. He landed some heavy shots, but he was always thoughtful of being defensive of what Gerald could do if the fight went to the ground, and he kept that from happening.
No, I would agree. I thought Brad fought a very good fight. I would like to see him work on his circling out a little bit better, because when he backs up, he backs straight up with his chin in the air, all the way to the point where he actually like relies on the fence to catch him. And that's just dangerous, because I think if Meerschaert would have kept stepping forward,
then
he could have fallen all the way to the fence. And those punches that land right when your back hits the fence are the ones that put you out.
Yeah.
Because there's no give. Your head literally goes right back in. Your body goes right back into the fence, and there's no give. You're taking the full grunt of the shot. So, I mean, Brad's got phenomenal kicks, got phenomenal boxing. He throws with power, everything with bad intentions. I love it. I love the way he fights. His takedown defense is fantastic. He's actually really good at getting back up to his feet. I picked Gerald to win this fight. I picked Brad to win this fight. I thought for sure that Brad would be able to for sure ink out the win in the decision, which is what he did. But I thought there was a good chance he'd be able to knock Meerschaert out as well, especially after the frustration I think Gerald would sustain, like coming into round 2, going into round 3. I thought he'd have to do something that would leave himself open. Fought a good fight though. Meerschaert just, like you said, he's the guy that grinds out, the guy that he'll still be there. I just thought maybe that Brad would be able to touch the chin a little bit more. But smart fight though by Brad. Smart fight.
It was, and it was, like one of those ones you can't overextend on him. You don't want to make the mistakes, and so you've got to keep yourself within a certain position, body posture, everything, and let him work his way towards you. Throw your counters and stuff. It doesn't make for the greatest fight, but I thought both guys really fought well, and obviously Tavares deserved the win in it. So congratulations to him.
I agree. Ode Osbourne versus Luis Gurule.
Boy, Ode looked good in this one, man.
Yeah.
He used his length. Luis Gurule coming off of the Dana White contender series and stuff, and he obviously had power, undefeated at the time. Well, this is what happens when you step into that. Yes, you fought at the Apex before. It's a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
Different people, different feel. Everything is, it's pressure, and pressure, sometimes is just too much for someone to overcome. And I thought that the fact that Ode has been there and done it, probably 10 times in the UFC already now, he's comfortable there. He looked it, and, he had the one moment where he was taken down and got back to his feet, and it was a beautiful job of putting him down and ended the fight. I thought, the fight went as good as it could for Ode. He looked good in the first round, and in the second round just put it away. So
I would agree. Torres Finney versus Robert Valentin.
This is one that you need to learn. This is, because, Torres Finney is the guy I was telling you about, super strong. He absolutely did not fight in any fashion like I've seen. Now, he takes big chances on his feet. When he's throwing, he didn't take any chances. He went, everything was wrestling, but you can see how physically strong he is. And he won that fight based on being the athlete. I'm just telling you right now, it was that Robert Valentin doesn't have the technique to stop that athleticism. And Finney being incredibly strong, and he's in good shape. So
absolutely,
because he took a lot of takedowns, a lot of picking some weight up and bringing it down over the fight, but did no damage. And this is you looked like a guy that was from, let's say, 1996, 1995 in the UFC. You were a one trick pony, and you have got to start bringing those other elements into this, or man, these guys are going to eat you alive. Just the way it is.
Did you agree with the scorecards? Tony Weeks had it for.
Oh my God, no, yeah.
For Valentine.
Tony had it way over to one side. No, I
30-27.
Yeah. Well, he's saying, and what I think what Tony Weeks is looking at and trying to look at the criteria, he's saying, well, I got one guy who's wrestling, okay, and I have Valentin who's throwing strikes every now and then. So really, who's doing more damage? Well, that's the wrong way of looking at the criteria. What is the element that is taking place more? And if the element is there's more grappling involved, then it's okay. Who wins the grappling? That's your number one element, and that's what Finney was winning. If it's close between the two, okay, there's a difference, but it wasn't close. The grappling was all there was throughout most of the fight. So it was just a poor use of the criteria for scoring.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Well, this happens.
Yeah, but John, the thing is, this is the problem. I think I heard Bisping say, like, hey, this is a lesson for him to understand that he's got to be more active on the top position. That's not the way it should. That's not the way that any fighter should have to think that way going in the fight.
No,
he dominated the fight, takedowns, control. Do I want him to be more active from the top? Fucking sure. Absolutely, sure. Absolutely. But when you got someone like Valentine, or however you say his name, like, he's good at getting back up to his feet. He was very, I want to say spunky. He was kind of just that guy. Like, he never really settled on the bottom until you got him fully flat. Then he started to settle in. But man, when his back was to the fence, shit, he was popping right back up. He was making space, scooting his hips away. He was working really hard. He had the technique. He just didn't have the physical, like the wrestling ability to keep getting up. And Finney, man, to be honest, John, he really, really surprised me with his conditioning. How often have we seen guys built like him?
Yeah.
Just after 2 or 3 takedowns, done. Fight's over. Fucking, like, they all look like Mark Coleman, Pete Williams. Like, you see them after a couple takedowns. That's how they can't keep their arms up. They're like kind of stumbling in their feet, and they become target practice. That was not the case here. No. So I think with Finney, I like the fact that you're that big. You're built like a brick shithouse, but man, you got cardio. You can push, you can wrestle. You're physically strong. You've got good technique in getting in there and getting the takedowns.
I told you it was kind of Duran Wynn like.
Yeah, just with cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Duran's not built like that though. Duran's short and stocky, but I think Duran.
Oh, he's not built like Finney.
No,
he wishes.
I think Duran could wrestle better than him.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The thing is, you got to be able to wrestle with cardio. Duran, once he got tired, the cardio was out the door. Yeah. So once he got tired, the wrestling went out the door. Finney, man, he can wrestle. He can wrestle. This guy can wrestle, and he's got great cardio for that size. That's pretty impressive to wrestle the way he did for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Throw some good striking in there. Be a little bit more productive on the top position in the ground and pound. I say this, when you're somebody that has that ability to get the takedowns, and who were they talking about? They were talking about somebody else too up on the higher up on the card. I want to say it was Sabatini. Oh no, sorry. It was Josh Emmett. There was a couple times where he was able to get on top of Lerone Murphy and didn't do anything. It was very much the Finney situation and Josh Emmett situation. You've got to let the punches go, because when you start letting the strikes go, they're less likely to try and get up. Because as I'm throwing punches, they're more worried about protecting their face than they are posting their hand and trying to get
arms aren't posting, their arms are covering.
Yes, and if they're not covering, they're taking big shots.
Trying to grab at you.
And so be more offensive in those positions instead of just burying your head down in their chest or on their back, trying to control them. And that's where I think Finney made some mistakes. He was able to get the takedown, didn't let the punches go. Got to be more active, work on passing guard, 3/4 guard, something along those lines. You got to get a 3/4 mount, and try and do some damage from that top position. I think also too for Finney, bro, you're just that heavy chest period. Like you just start looking to try to throw big elbows. Start trying to throw the big elbows, all those. I think he'll have some success. I want to know how they're going to match him up though. I think this fight maybe frustrated Dana a little bit, probably watching it or whoever, and going like, okay, maybe we got to get you a wrestler and see what happens. Maybe we'll make you a stand-up guy. We'll see what we can do. John, any other fights on here you want to chat about?
You got to give Reese McKee his due. Here's a guy that came into the UFC a while ago. I think his first fight was against Chimaev. Yeah. So you go, congratulations on getting a fight, actually coming out looking good. It was he looked really good in the round, knocked him down multiple times. The lip and the eye were all beat up.
The lip was nasty.
Yeah, it was just
reminded me of Alistair Overeem. Yeah, Lawler too, but more for me it was more the Overeem one.
Yeah, it was more jagged.
Yeah, Lawler's was like on the side more. His was like kind of
Lawler's is right here.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
Ugh. But so okay, so I said, they stopped it for the cut.
They stopped it for the cut.
Why is that?
Because it's very difficult for them to put it back together.
I had the same cut here, John. That's what I'm asking.
What they're afraid of happening is that cut is he takes a shot and a punch goes and it just catches it right, and now it separates. This is not going to hold on, and it just starts to tear the entire. You know how you got this thing in the lip of your mouth in the front and everything. It tears all that and tears the skin all the way across the bottom of your nose. So they just look and go, look, it's already hard for us to put it back together the right way so his lip functions right.
Yeah, he's gonna need plastic surgery for that.
Oh yeah. So that's why I said it's already hard for us to put it back together. The fight's done. We're not going to let it get any worse. So,
smart play.
Look at it.
Yeah, I have
this is where the health and safety of the fighter overtakes them getting a chance to win the fight. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I was wrestling with this kid and I took him down and his head smacked up and hit me back in the mouth. I wasn't wearing a mouthpiece. Never trained without a mouthpiece after that. Split me wide open. I went to the doctor and they were like, yeah, you're going to need plastic surgery. I didn't have to get plastic surgery. She actually stitched it up so well and so nice and tight. But I still have this thing, like when I smile, like this side actually kind of just stays down because the nerve damage.
Yeah.
So there's like damage there to where like when I kind of sometimes I see myself and smile, like when I'm smiling at pictures, sometimes that side doesn't go up as high. And like I can only do this, like on one side, like that. it's a weird thing. So
well, after seeing you here, we know that you have to catch a fish for you to smile. So
yeah. You guys, okay, this is something his daughter pointed out. Is my son and I go fishing. You guys got to take a look. Every picture you ever have, like in family pictures or in like friend pictures, guys smile like this. We give like a half smile. We don't really show our teeth. Go take a look at every picture you've ever had when you caught a fish. You guys are ear to ear. And I didn't believe it. But I've done a lot of fishing with my son since we moved to Texas because we have lakes in our community. And every picture I've ever taken with my son and his fish and my fish, not even if I didn't catch it, it's just in a picture with the fish. Both of us are ear to ear. And then if I take a look at all of our family pictures and all of our like
tells you what's more important.
Two of us doing stuff, and the two of us are just like this. Like just that's more of like a stern, stoic kind of look. But with the fish hanging in the picture, we're ear to ear. I didn't believe it until your daughter pointed that out. And then I went back and looked at all my pictures. I was like, that's a bunch of bullshit. That night I went back to the house and started scrolling through pictures of all the fishes. Sure enough, every single one, I go, I'm ear to ear. So is my son. That's great. All right, hey, that's going to wrap up our UFC talk. But here's a word from our sponsors.
I got some good news, ladies and gentlemen.
Our podcast, Weighing In, was the first podcast to ever partner with OnlyFans,
bringing you guys the best content we possibly can in the combat sports industry. We are making some leeway on bringing sports to the OnlyFans platform,
where top-tier, world-class athletes can connect with their fans. We're talking about combat sports athletes like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, Chris Cyborg,
Luke Rockhold,
AJ McKee.
You've also got pro surfers like Billy Kemper. Some chilling news.
I want you to head on over to the Weighing In OnlyFans channel.
More connection with our fans on our OnlyFans channel.
Only available on OnlyFans.
All right, guys, we're back. And guess what? We also have some more action to talk about on the PFL. It was on Thursday night on ESPN. If you guys haven't seen that card, it was their first time having their welterweight division fights as well as their featherweight fights all mixed together. They had a good card, though, John. Some of the fights were pretty damn good. You want to go ahead and walk us through that?
Yeah, we had the main event of the evening was Jason Jackson taking on Andrei Koreshkov, two guys that came from Bellator that had never fought against each other. Good back and forth battle in the first round. I thought Jason Jackson was getting just a little bit of the better of it. Second round, same thing was happening. And then there was the stopping of the action because Jason hit the back of the head with an elbow, cut open Koreshkov. They took some time. Really sad when the commentators go, that's not illegal. That wasn't illegal. That's not what we call illegal. Oh yeah, the headphones. I wish people would know what the hell they were talking about if they're going to flap their lips. It's like, how hard is it to know that it's where that little crown of the head straight down? And where did he get cracked? Right in that fucking crown of the head, just off to the side of it, which means there's a 1 inch space to each side. Yeah, it was illegal.
How we know he got cracked in that spot? He was bleeding from there.
Thank you. I mean, it was like, and they put it out. Oh, no, that's a legal spot. No, it's not. Don't sit there. You're making it off. Keith Peterson's doing the right thing. He fucking gives him time. They come back, and Jason Jackson actually gets in a very nice position, gets a choke, gets the takedown, gets a choke, and ends up with a beautiful submission of a rear naked choke. Puts himself in a position to move on in the tournament and win himself a lot of money. So it was a good fight for him.
Yeah, I just hate to see an illegal blow to the back of the head, and then a minute later, whatever, the submission happens. It doesn't look good.
Nope.
And the shit part is like the PFL trying to make a splash, trying to have an exciting fight for their main event, and then shit ends like that. It just is. And I love Jason Jackson. It's a bad look for the main event on the PFL event. Yeah. But overall, I thought it was shaping up to be a really good fight. I was excited for the fight. To me, I thought it was going to be one of those knockdown, drag-out fights, and it was shaping up to kind of be that way. I had Jason obviously ahead of, on the scorecards. I had him winning the fight, but it still could have been anyone's fight. Koreshkov's one of those guys you just can't overlook. Yeah. The spinning attacks, his ability to be aggressive, like he's very explosive. He looks like he's 50, but he's still explosive. Jesus Pinedo versus Adam Boric.
This went exactly about the way that I think we talked about, and I thought, Jesus Pinedo does not get the credit for being as good a fighter as he is. And when I say he reminds me of, guys from the past in boxing, and God, I can't think of his name now. Who was the guy? He was the one that was his trainer actually loaded his gloves up when he fought
Margarito.
Yeah.
Margarito.
Yeah. Pinedo kind of reminds me of Margarito. And I don't want to say that in a bad way because I really like Pinedo, but Margarito had a nasty streak to him, and Pinedo's got a nasty streak to him. He just sits there and he hits hard. He's got a beautiful left hand, and he measures you and he waits on it. He can still throw the right hand well, but man, when he throws the left hand, it's beautifully done. It's got snap. It's got power. He'll take a punch to be able to land that punch. And, you could see in this fight, Boric was the more technically proficient stand-up guy. He had the better footwork. He looked really good in his transitions and his ability to circle out and create things. But it was just Pinedo saying, I'm going to walk through you. And that's eventually what he did and caught him. And when he caught him, he didn't let him get up. And it was a beautiful win for Pinedo. And he just proved how good he really is.
The way that Pinedo fought against Adam Boric is kind of the way that Josh Emmett needed to fight tonight against Lerone.
Exactly.
But that's what Pinedo does. He just walks forward. He cuts the cage off. He boxes heavy.
Which is kind of like, that's why I say Margarito.
Yeah. But I thought, look, Pinedo's better than, I agree with you, John. Pinedo's better than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have a style that looks pretty, but he gets it done. It's not as clunky as like DDP's, but it's that aggressive style that makes people fight on their back foot. Kind of, it's almost like, give me this. Is it kind of like a Diego Sanchez? Not as reckless.
Not as reckless as Diego.
But just the constant pressure, always in your grill, just like can take a shot, is willing to take a shot to give 2 or 3 shots. I know that Diego was so much well-versed. Like, he can wrestle better than Pinedo. Submissions way better than Pinedo. But Pinedo's good at takedown defense. He's good at getting back to his feet. He's also just constant pressure.
Yeah.
Very good fighter to watch. Fun fighter to watch as well.
Yeah.
And we said this. I said, Adam Boric is the guy that he's out there looking the part, physically built like a Greek god, stylistically, like his style, the way he fights is fucking beautiful. Yeah. On paper, it's beautiful. Right. And let me use this as an analogy. I was on the Joe Rogan show back right before Julia Budd and Chris Cyborg fought. Julia Budd is the better kickboxer. Cyborg is the one that just fucking runs you over, though. There's nothing you can do when you're the better technician in kickboxing, but then you got the person that just can take your shot and fucking run you over. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. She just had someone that didn't give you room or space to utilize your skill. And you didn't know how to get out of the way of being fucking bulldozed. Yeah. And that's kind of exactly what happened is Pinedo just said, fuck your technique and fuck your ability to look pretty out there. And I'm going to walk right through everything and deliver big shots. And sure enough, he did, Yeah. Great job by him. Luciano versus Logan Storley.
Logan came out, did exactly what Logan does. Went to his wrestling. That is his strength. Luciano said he was going to be able to stop that. That was obviously not a true statement. Wasn't able to stop any of the takedowns for the most part. He got taken down quite a few times in the fight. But, tough as hell, never quit. Worked his way out of a lot of bad positions that you look at and you go, that's not easy to work your way out of. But just, took the fight last second notice. So, you can sit there and say what you want. It's tough on Storley. It's tough on him. But Logan Storley moves on in their tournament, and he deserved the win. But Logan's going to have to figure out that he's got to do damage on the ground.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, John.
And he is a dynamic wrestler. He shoots that outside single and comes around on it, and you look and you go, I wish I could have done it half as good as he does it. He's that good with it, and the way he wrestles at times, you look and you go, it's just beautiful. But he does not do damage. And when he gets on top of you, he is a wet blanket. He's all over you and he's on you, but he's not doing damage. And he's got to start doing damage. Yeah. Got to open up.
Yeah. I mean, I can't give any more explanation than you just did. He's got to start being more offensive on the top position. It'll help him too. Like I said earlier, with
every part of the fight, it'll help him.
Yeah, I said earlier with the UFC guy, the buff guy that won, the wrestler. What's his name? Torres. Yeah, I said the same thing with him. You gotta be more active on the top. You've got to be able to throw strikes, and that'll help with your wrestling, keeping these guys down. And so just with Logan, like there's no doubt he can wrestle. That's never going to be his issue. Like that's not going to he's forgot more about wrestling than most people know.
True.
You know, 6-time state champ, you know, and a 4-time All-American. I mean, like you can't, that's fucking insane. The kid can wrestle. So I just think he's got to open up a little bit more. I also think though, too, for him, this is one of those moments where he's got to stay on track. He's got to get on track. There's a lot of stake. You know, he had 2 losses, I think, in a row before.
Yep.
You know, and so him getting back on track was very important. Dropping 3 is demoralizing. So I'm going to give him a little bit of slack in this position, you know, knowing like, hey, I got to win. Okay, good. My confidence back up. What I'm doing is working. Okay, now let me go ahead and just start adding on to that. It's very difficult. To lose 1 is hard. Fighters, we start second guessing our lives after you lose 1. Then you lose 2 in a row and you're like, fuck, maybe this is not for me anymore. Like, you know, I mean, he was already planning his extra strategy probably. I'm going to move his 2 falls, open a gym, call it good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fighters think that way. Sure. And so, like, when you start dropping 1 and 2 in a row, you're thinking, if I drop 3, I'm fucked. So, to me, this was one of the best fights of the night, though, was Jeremy Kennedy versus Movlid Habulayev.
Yeah.
Fantastic fight, John.
Jeremy Kennedy let this thing get out of his hands. He had this fight. And in
the first round.
Oh, my God. He had him so hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, give all praise to Kabalaev. He's tough as hell. He no quit in him. He came back, and, you know, Jeremy Kennedy, you know, truthfully, you could have said that was a 10-8 round. And Kabalaev came back and basically did a 10-8 round second one, too. So it was all about who was going to win the third, and Kennedy was winning it for a while. And then he let him fucking get to a position where he gets behind him, and it's just now you're doing no offense. He has the ability to do offense. It's not that he does a ton, but he does enough to beat you, and he gets the win.
Jeremy was winning the stand-up, and John, he shot the takedown that led to him getting put to his knees.
Yep.
And I was like, what are you doing? You had success in the first round wrestling, or not wrestling, but stand-up. Striking. Then you lose the second round because of the wrestling and a little bit of the striking. Like, he started to slow down. I just wonder if he's cutting too much weight, because if you guys haven't met Jeremy Kennedy, he's enormous for 145. He's big. Like, he's a little bit taller than me, you know, around my height, maybe a little bit taller.
Yeah.
He's a big 145 pounder. And so what I saw was he started to slow down maybe a little bit in that third. It's halfway through the second round.
Yeah.
And in the third round, the fatigue made a couple mistakes, and it cost him the fight. It was right there, though, John. But it was a damn good fight. It was a damn good fight. And Moblin, after the long layoff, I mean, he's got to be thinking, second guessing his life at the moment. Like,
he's thinking, I probably should have just stayed in Dagestan.
Yeah, right. I should have probably just not fucking come back. But man, it was a fun fight. It was probably one of my favorite fights of the night. But the next fight was very good too, though. Berkimov versus Thad Jean.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those, if you take a look at it, Berkimov came out of Bellator. Thad Jean is homegrown PFL product. He's out of Florida there. They call him the Silverback. He is a talented young man. You know, I talk to Ian Parker about him all the time and stuff. And, you know, Ian's very high on him. And, you know, Ian actually helped him get into the tournament with this fight. And, you know, he was worried about it. And I said, hey, you know, what you want to make sure is that he puts, you know, Berkimov on his back foot. If he's going forward, he's going to be winning the fight. Don't let Berkimov come forward. And, you know, it went back and forth. It was kind of static.
Yeah.
But it was the athleticism of Thad Jean being able to be just a little bit faster. The speed, I thought, made a difference. And he was able to start landing his shots. And he landed a couple of good left hands on Berkimov and ended up hurting him putting him down with a really nice shot, and then finished it on the ground with strikes. And that's the biggest win of his career. He deserves it. He looked great doing it. Congratulations to him. And now I think that he is in a position where he gets to fight Jason Jackson. So kind of a tough one. What's that?
Fun fight, though, for us.
Yeah, it really will be, because he's a large welterweight.
Yeah.
He is a very big, you know, and so is Jason Jackson. You know, Jason's big guy too. So it's going to match up well, but that's a tough fight for Thad Jean, just based upon the way he fights and the way Jason fights, they're very similar.
Got it. John, I didn't see the first three. I showed up late to watch them. So
Gabriel Braga looked. He came out, man. He's fighting a guy in Frederick Dupress, who is a very good submission fighter. He's great with a guillotine, and man, he locked a guillotine on Braga that you looked and you went, "Oh, that's tight." And Braga sucked it up, like you said. Look, they're going to tap in the gym. They're not going to tap in the fight. And Braga, finally popped his head out, and when he did, the whole fight changed, and the submission guy got submitted, and he turned his back when he got hit with some shots, and Braga sunk the rear naked in. It was more of a face crank, actually, but Braga looked great. But he's going to end up facing Pinedo in a rematch because they both have one win against each other, so that's a great matchup.
Interesting. Other fights on here?
The rest of them don't let it go.
All right, that's the PFL talk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that conversation. And remember, I want you guys to remember this episode is brought to you by BetUSTV.com, BetUSTV.com. And actually, John, to touch on that, we're going to talk about next week's UFC pay-per-view 314. We're going to go ahead and jump right into. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the odds, man. We got Diego Lopez against Alexander Volkanovski. You've got Diego at a plus 122, and you've got Volkanovski at a minus 145. I mean, how do you see this thing going? Do you think those odds make sense?
I think those odds make sense when you got to take a look, and you got to give Volkanovski credit for being, the guy that he's been for, how long. Let's be honest. Volkanovski was just a monster running through the UFC. He's got 4 losses in the UFC, or 3 losses in the UFC, excuse me. One was early in his career. But, those 3 losses have been in his last 4 fights, and 2 of them right in a row, one being Makhachev and then one being Topuria taking his title. And you look and you go, this is the norm of what happens. He had this huge long run of 20-some wins in a row. He is a monster. He is a great guy. I love everything about the way he fights. He's tough as hell. But there comes that moment where things change. And I really look at this fight, and I know the betting odds are giving that Volkanovski is the favorite in the fight. I'll take Diego Lopez all day long. He's that guy that he's right at that point where he believes in himself, and it's the way that he came into the UFC and who he came in against, and the things that he did, since then that have said exactly, hey, this kid he's got it mentally. He is tough as hell. He is very confident in himself as far as everything that he's done, be it in jiu-jitsu or now in the sport of MMA, leaving Brazil, going to Mexico, changing his camps up and everything. He's 5-1. The only loss he has is that fight that he got to get him into the UFC that was a last-minute fight against Evolov. He was a last-second replacement. And if you watch that fight, it went the distance, and he had Evolov in trouble in that fight a lot. And he ran out of gas. And you can take a look at the people that he has fought since then. One of them is the guy that we were talking about tonight, Pat Sabatini. He knocked Pat Sabatini out in round 1. He beat Sadiq Youssef, who is tough as hell, big power in his hands. He beat Dan Ige, and no matter what anyone wants to say to me, that speaks volumes, because Dan Ige is a difficult fight for anyone. And it tells you right then at that point, Dan Ige was the more veteran fighter, but he goes in there and he actually gets a win over Dan Ige. Then he actually, beats Brian Ortega, and he beat Brian pretty handily. You take a look at, what happened if he had him in trouble in the first round. Everything is going his way. The kid has got power. He's a big 145 pounder. Alexander's not ever been that big guy. He's not a big frame guy, strong, and he's got power in his hands. But I just look at it right now. Look at Diego Lopez. He's the guy that, is in that position to start to prove who he is. If, looking at him and everything, if I put him against, Topuria might be a little bit different at this time, but matched up against Volkanovski, I think this is not a bad fight for him.
Yeah, I'm going to take the dog on this fight, man. At plus 122, I'm going to take Diego Lopez. And nothing more than the fact that Volk coming off the 2 losses and the way he's coming off those 2 losses.
Yep.
Volk is also getting a little bit older.
Yep.
And last is the guys that Volkanovski's had a hard time with have been the guys that have good submissions. The Brian Ortega, remember the triangle and the guillotine? They were close. They were really close. And Diego Lopez has got some really good attacks on the ground. The thing that concerns me with Diego Lopez is if this fight gets in around 3, 4, 5, will he be that same fighter he normally is in 1 and 2? Because, John, he slows down a lot because of the weight. Does. You can see.
Yeah.
We've seen it in every fight he's gone in the 3rd round. He looks tired. The output's not there. And we all know. Volkanovski, if he's still there in the 3rd, he's going to be pushing the action.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be getting in your grill. He's going to be like, he's going to be letting you know, like, I'm going to be all up in your ass for this rounds 3, 4, and 5.
And he has that ability.
He does. And Diego tends to slow down and kind of just shut down a little bit too in those later rounds. So I hope, and this is the one thing that makes me gives me a little bit more hope for Diego Lopez is that he's the main event now. And so he'll have another 3, 4 hours to hydrate.
Sure.
3, 4 hours is a lot. It's not only do you get the 36 hours, whatever it is, but it's a long time when you're hydrating the rest of the day. Because what happens is you think when fighters, people, fans, whatever think, when they leave, they go home, they hydrate, right? We do, we take whatever. We do hydrate with water. We hydrate with electrolytes. You get all this fluid in you. But then you piss it out. And then you got to replenish. And then you piss it out. You're not fully hydrated for at least, like you said, 30 hours, 32 hours, 36 hours. The State Athletic Commission started doing, reviews or whatever, surveys on this and stuff. And you sort of realize it takes about 36 hours, actually even a little bit more, to get fully rehydrated. They decided on the whole 36-hour program because that's the closest we can get without them having to ruin the fight kind of thing, right? Like it has to be without being 2 days in advance. Right. So let's do it early in the morning, let them fight the next day, gives them plenty of time. And my only concern with Diego Lopez, and I'm still going to take him into plus 122. I'm still going to take him, but the Volkanovski thing scares me with the 2 knockout losses coming off that. He's been off for a while now because of that. That's that. And then also too, just the age. So those 3 things together, and Diego being pretty damn busy as of lately, and just the confidence, I think the size, the submission, the guillotines, the triangles. Go back and watch his Evolov fight, man. He was attacking and attacking and attacking. That was a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
So I look at that fight and I think to myself, this is probably his time, and he's a young kid, very active. Good time to go ahead and take that strap.
How much older is Volkanovski then? Because Lopez is what, 30?
Young. He's like probably in his 30s? Let's see.
I think he's right at 30. 29, 30.
Yeah, I think he was 29 at the what's it called? Can you look it up there, George?
Volkanovski is 36 and Diego Lopez is 30.
30. Baby talk. But John, I guess, look, the next one, though, too, this is one that kind of shocked me a little bit. Patty Pillman at a minus 160 and Michael Chandler at a plus 134. That kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But it's, again, it's all about, your careers and the trajectory of it. And, you've got this, this guy's here. Well, and this guy's, here, but he's actually in this. When is it that they meet that, yep, you're past that point and he's above it? And because, to sit there and say that Chandler's a better fighter now than he's ever been in the past. No, come on. Not even close. To say that Patty is still getting better. Yes, he is. And so one is still climbing and one is trying to hold on.
One's on the decline.
He's trying to hold on. Look, Michael Chandler is still a very explosive fighter. Physically, he's very strong. He's in good shape. I will never, ever doubt, his ability as far as to go the distance, even though he needs his times to rest in the fight. He does get tired. I look at Paddy Pimblett, and I think Paddy on the feet is going to be problems based upon his length. Michael is not a long fighter or a big fighter. I think he's got power over Paddy, but I think the length is going to give him some problems in getting that power onto target, while Paddy just has to sit there and control the range on him and look for his rushes. But his rushes are all linear. He doesn't even take steps outside to cut corners on people and make it to where they kind of fall into what shot you're going to be throwing. Very linear in the way he approaches. On the ground, Michael's, let's say he's the better wrestler. Okay, not by much. And he's definitely not the better submission fighter now. Paddy's a good submission fighter. Paddy's got good submissions, and he's good at pulling them off. He's good at controlling people on the ground. We've seen that Michael is not the same. He can't get his body out of positions with certain people anymore. So if he ends up underneath Paddy, he's going to have some problems there. He's going to have to, he couldn't get away from Charles Oliveira at any point. He's not going to be getting away from Paddy either.
Wait, so you're putting Paddy the same level of Charles?
No, I am not putting Paddy at the same.
It sounded like there, John.
Level. No.
Why you didn't disrespect Charles like that?
I am not disrespecting Charles ever.
John out here disrespecting Charles Oliveira, former champion.
Paddy's a lot better fighter than people give him credit for. The guy's good.
I will agree with you 100%. He's gotten a lot better over the last 2 fights as well.
Yeah.
But look, winning fights gives you the confidence to go out there and do what you feel like you can do. Yeah. Like when you start winning, you start having the confidence to just do the things that you've been doing in the gym because they work. Yeah. Whereas when you were just coming in the organization or you're just getting some wins in the local show, it's not the same. Then you get in the big show and you start thinking to yourself, will it work against these good guys? These world-class guys, these guys that are ranked in the top 10? This will be a huge blow to Michael Chandler if he can't get the win.
Yeah.
Huge blow. And that's no disrespect to Paddy Pimblett. The physical size of Paddy Pimblett is going to be bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Strength, I'm going to probably give it to Chandler, but the ability to use his strength, though, is going to be Paddy Pimblett. Just his long body, that's not like his long body, and I think he's physically a big guy. He's going to be it's going to be difficult for Michael Chandler to handle that strength of Paddy Pimblett, even though he's probably Chandler's physically the stronger guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to what you said, though, about how Chandler couldn't get out of Charles Oliveira's back, and control all those things. Those are all things that he was able to do against tons of other fighters before in the past.
Even Charles Oliveira.
Yes. But when I look at it now, John, this is my mindset. Michael Chandler now is starting to kind of lean towards 1 foot out the door.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that, he's made a lot of money with the UFC. On top of making a lot of money with the UFC, he knows it's coming to an end. The Conor fight he waited around for, never got. Wasn't able to cash out on that. Huh. UFC's been able to take care of him though because they understood how patient he was being. All of that happening, I think that he's kind of like, hey, he's living that comfortable life right now, and I don't see a sense of urgency. I don't see look, right now when he gets in there, he's not the same guy. It's the mentality is not the same. It's not the hungry fighter anymore. He's the Conor McGregor after he fought Floyd Mayweather kind of position, just without the money. But he's in that position though, John. I mean, he's making really good money at the UFC. He's making great money. Yeah. But I'm simply saying there's that sense, that level of comfortness. And I don't see the same, tenacity and fight to the death kind of position that he's in right now. And possibly he can't do it because of his age. That might be it too. It's not there anymore. The drive to get in shape is there, but the drive to win at all costs. I mean, outside of cheating, like the elbows to the head and the punches to the back of the head and those things, eye pokes, the fish hooks and those things.
He's got a little bit of a reputation now, doesn't he?
Shit, I mean, Dustin Boyd threw him on blast.
Oh, dude.
Oof. On the RG3 pod, man. He put his fingers in my mouth. I bit that shit off.
That's what you do.
John, I just about cracked up. Oh, man. Anyways, bottom line is, Paddy Pimblett is a -160. Michael Chandler is a +134. I mean, that's a little bit of a stretch for me. I may pass on that. It's tough. I mean, if I was going to lean one way, I probably would lean a little bit more towards Paddy. But I'm hesitant to to put a ton of money on that fight.
Yeah.
You know, but I am leaning towards the dog though, and Diego Lopez at plus 122. So, hey, if you guys are looking to play some bets, go to betustv.com, betustv.com. Well, thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. And if you want to support us, support our sponsors. What else you got? Give us one news article and then we'll wrap this up.
Well, all right. Well, in the wee hours of the morning, former double champ Henry Cejudo was awoken by a extraordinarily loud car crash from next door. He ran out like a satin pajama Superman, and he saved the day. What do you guys think about this kind of interaction? And John, I assume you've been through a lot of these kind of interactions, being a former police officer. So do you have any good stories?
Not wearing gold satin PJs, man. As soon as I saw Henry in there, I said, God damn, he wears gold satin PJs. Everything about him is gold. You gotta love that. He's consistent. What's that?
You know, I figured out what I'm gonna get you for Christmas.
No, don't even do it.
Would you wear them?
No.
You fucking come on.
I'm just being honest.
I bet Miss McCarthy would love if you wore some gold satin PJs.
I think Miss McCarthy could give a shit about what I wear when I sleep. She's gone. Gone.
She would love it. Love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where's your wife right now? Sleeping? Yeah. Yeah.
No. She always waits till I get done.
Dude, mine wait until I get done. Are you kidding?
My wife's down. She's
my wife's down.
She's a ride or die.
My wife's like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Nah, not mine.
Yeah, she would care less about me wearing anything. So
she's working on the computer, doing whatever she needs to get done. She's just grinding away.
I thought that was actually, though, good for Henry. He went out there. Someone runs into his. It's not even the fact that he ran his car, whatever the hell the guy was doing. I don't know, 80 miles per hour down the street. But then he actually struck the person. He put his car through the side of the house, and then he ends up hurting the old elderly man that lives in the house by striking him as he's trying to leave. And Henry proceeds to teach him a little lesson in humility, picks him up and puts him down on his ass and keeps him there. And he does it all while not getting a mark on those beautiful gold satin PJs, which he then straightened out. Man, look good.
You know that them fucking satin PJs are from Target, right?
Dude, are they?
I don't know, John.
I bet. I was looking for the embroidery on it saying
they look good just on TV though. They're from Target. I mean, look, the guy that ran his car into the house, all common sense goes out the door, John. You know this probably better than anyone. When you're trying to get away knowing you're fucked, like, it doesn't matter who's in front of you. You're going to do whatever it takes, right?
What makes you think you're getting away? Your car is sitting there in their living room.
It was stolen. Just like your neighbor, he has a Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
John.
This is true.
I mean, I've seen some pretty wild car accidents into some houses. When I was living in San Jose, there was a T-bone, like where it comes to a stop, but the houses are right in front. I saw someone drive right through the house. The car ended up in the backyard.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is insane. Luckily, the bedrooms were off to the right, and he went right through the living room, through the guest bedroom and the bathroom, right into the backyard. Insane. But I mean, I've seen one where somehow the car ended in the 2-story house.
Oh yeah.
Ended up in the top in the 2-story house in LA.
Dude, I saw a car go off of a bridge into a fucking side of the building, was in the 5th, 6th floor. Spoosh. You look and you go, well, how are they going to get that out of there?
They had to have been filming a movie.
No, it wasn't a movie. It was a chase, and it was an accident.
That's insane.
I didn't get to see it actually crash into it. I just saw it sticking out of it. So
yeah, I didn't see the crash into either one of them. I just drove by. Well, the one happened on my street. The first one where you ran into the T-bone, went through the house, that was on my street. So I just walked down. We all heard the commotion, and so we ran down seeing what happened. And he was all the way in the backyard. It was the old cherry lots where my grandmother lived, and so it was a deep lot in the back. So they had like a decent sized front yard. But then the house was kind of small. It was like a 1,400 square foot house in the front. But then in the back, it was like a huge, deep, like shallow, or not shallow, but narrow orchard lot. So they called them cherry orchard lots because they were narrow, but they were long. They would go all the way back, so you'd have like trees and stuff planted in the back and a little orchard back there. But yeah, it was crazy. Anyways, some wild times, man. Wild times. Crazy drivers.
Crazy
Henry,
people.
though, doing his part. Good Samaritan out there.
Good neighbor.
What's going on with what's his name? Kevin Holland did that, right?
Don't screw it. Yeah, Kevin Holland did the same thing. Don't screw with their neighborhood watch.
In something like that, John, would you start calling him Quad C now? I mean, that's to me, I'd give him a title for that.
Would you give him a title on that one?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. What?
Some dude punched an elderly person?
Front yard champion?
I don't give a shit what you call him. Fucking hero for all I give a shit. Anybody that beats up a fucking old person in front of me, I'm not waiting for the cops.
No.
I'm just going to beat the shit out of you until they get there. And hopefully you're still alive. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Hell no. I don't give a shit.
No. Hell no.
I got this, for some reason, John, I have this thing in me that's like, you just don't fuck with kids and you don't fuck with elderly people. All the people in the middle, I get it.
Hey, why the fuck are you always fucking with me then?
It's just family. You know what? It's family, right? You say and do whatever you want to family. Fuckers.
I love it.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up our show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said before, you guys drink LMNT. Use the link down below in the descriptions, man. Awesome product. They deliver it in sparkling. They also deliver it in pouches you guys can carry with you with a water bottle. Amazing. Great to travel with. And like I said, look, I had a whole can last night, John. Within like 20 minutes, I was knocked out. Boom. Helps me sleep. Good thing my daughter's soccer game was canceled this morning. I would have overslept. You know me, I like to get up. I get up pretty early.
Yeah.
But man,
So do I.
I slept until like 9 a.m. today.
Yeah.
In bed till 9.
You
Normally I'm up around,
crap.
it used to be 4:30. Now it's like 6, John. I'm pushing 6 o'clock. I don't know. I thought that I always, when my grandparents were younger, when they got up, they were up at like, my grandfather would get up at 4:30 and he'd be in the pool. No fucking heated pool.
But when
swimming laps.
But when did he go to sleep?
Nah, he was still went to bed around 10.
Okay.
Yeah, for an elderly guy. I mean, like, he was in his 60s, but he'd get out and swim laps in the fucking freezing ass pool. Fucking, he'd be out there for like 30 minutes swimming laps. I'm like,
Brutal.
Jesus. Fucking in the middle of winter, didn't give a shit.
Brutal.
He'd swim laps every morning, and then he'd go to his gym and ride the bike for 2 hours.
Good for him.
I was like, jeez. But he loved to drink beer, so that was a good reason why he did. He loved to drink beer. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up our show. I want to remind you guys, this episode is brought to you by BetUSTV.com, BetUSTV.com. Make sure you check them out for the best betting odds and sports available for you guys. Also, too, check us out on OnlyFans. We are available there, free. Check us out. We do our live show every Tuesday. By the way, I'm going to announce we will not be doing a live show this Tuesday. It will be a recorded show. We will drop that on Wednesday morning. We are still giving you a show. We will not be doing a live show this Tuesday night. We will be recording the show on Tuesday night, and it will drop Wednesday morning. Okay, we will resume our live activities the following week.
There you go.
And anything else you got for us there, buddy?
For everyone out there, I want to tell you thank you for listening in, and we will see you.